Dirkens here. Thanks so much for joining me for my preview of the 2019 Auburn Tigers. Now, if you don't know me, welcome. Don't smoke in my house. It gets in the couch and stuff. It gets nasty. Hit the subscribe button. Turn on notifications. Normally when I do a video, I don't do a live stream. I pre-record it and I put it up, make sure all the good kinks are worked out. But tonight, we're starting to get closer to the football season, and I'm behind on several teams. I've had some affliction. Not those expensive, overrated shirts. I actually had some affliction. I'm back. I'm doing all right. But it's time for me to do some of these, so I just figured it's easier for me to do a live stream. So if you're new, normally I do pre-recorded, but I'm not tonight. So I'm going to jump right in. When you think about the Auburn Tigers, the very first thought that I have is Bo Jackson. I know there's people out there who thinks Cam Newton. I think Bo Jackson. I remember Bo Jackson. I remember Sports Illustrated with him on the front with the shoulder pads and the arms over the baseball bat. Bo Jackson was probably one of the greatest athletes. Unfortunately, injury took away from us. That guy had many more great plays left him. Of course, Cam Newton won the national championship. What was that, in 2010? A lot of great talent. Cadillac Williams, Takeo Spikes, what a cool name. But the truth is, when you think about Auburn, that's what you think of. Now, if you're an Auburn fan and you've never watched me before, don't get fickle. That's a new word I've learned. I know y'all own the rivalry between Clemson and Auburn, like 34-15-2. I get it. You don't even have to tell me about that. But we're playing football now. You know that, don't you? Auburn hasn't beat Clemson in a while, but you still own that record. Okay, I give that to you. There's some teams I pick on for pissing away talent. LSU, Georgia, Miami, and then in a close fourth, y'all. If you're like me and you get on social media and you don't hide behind cute little names that you create and you get really aggressive and even say stuff you normally wouldn't do in everyday life to people. If you're like me and you don't do that and you actually put yourself out here where everybody can ridicule you, it puts a little more pressure on you. Because we have to think about what we say, how we predict things. And me, I'm just me. I'm confident. But I'm going to tell you, listen to me, I'm going to tell you, Auburn fans, something that you're either going to understand or you're going to get pissed at me and you're going to start hitting thumbs down and start saying crazy stuff. If you ask anybody who does these videos like I do, they'll have to agree, Auburn is one of the most difficult teams to try to predict. Why? Why? Because one week, y'all look like you're the front runner in the SEC West. And the next week, you look like you couldn't beat the blind kids from Alabama. And I'm not talking about the Crimson Tide. No. I'm talking about the blind kids from Alabama on their Shetland ponies. You can get pissed there. You can get mad. You can talk about Clemson. You know, national champions out of the past 2 out of the 3 years. You can say whatever you want to. You can talk about the SEC and start chanting War Eagle, but here's the deal. It's the truth. And why you're paying to the coach what you are paying. Why you're paying him that much money. The only other school I'm sitting there scratching my head going, why are you paying that much money to him, is Michigan. It's like paying for a Mercedes-Benz, like the top of the line, not the cheap ones they give to these people who want to be rich, but they ain't, but they buy one so they can say they're driving Mercedes. No. I'm talking about the expensive ones, $150,000. Paying for that, and they roll a 1992 Corolla out, held together by duct tape and prayers. That's what y'all have. I mean, I'm looking at your schedule right here. Last year you went 8-5. Year before that went 10-4. Year before that 8-5. Year before that 7-6. You want me to keep going? Here's the problem. Y'all have had a lot of really, really good talent. And you can sit here and you can tell me that you play in the SEC and that those boys right there play absolutely nobody. Let me tell you, when those boys play somebody, guess what happens? They rip their flipping head off. They don't fold. 2 years ago, the very same team who went 10-4 was the very same team who beat the crap out of Georgia. Turned around and lost to LSU. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. So it is very difficult to figure out how you're going to play. I mean, good Lord, LSU is difficult to figure out. But y'all are even more difficult than them. So let's jump right into your schedule. This year you return 7 starters on both sides of the ball. Right now there's a big quarterback controversy. Right before I got on here and did this video. Today's what? I don't know. 15th, 16th? Something like that. It's a Thursday. I just got off the internet just before I got on this video. Y'all still don't know who your quarterback's going to be. Everybody's talking about that Gatewood kid. And let me tell you what's very dangerous is when people start going, yeah, man, I tell you, that Malzahn said he's a lot like Cam Newton. That's a mouthful. You should never, ever compare anybody to somebody like Cam Newton. You should never compare anybody to a Deshaun Watson. Until they've went out there, done it, and proved it, and have the championship over their head and the Heisman Trophy, don't you dare do that. Because here's what you're doing. You're getting fans' hopes up who's already ready to fire you. You don't do that. And Nick's kid's got a lot of talent. We know his pedigree, we know his background, but his daddy ain't playing, he is. Listen to me. If you're here for somebody who's going to give you an outsider's view, and most likely what could happen, you're at the right place. At running back, you do have Martin coming back. You have Whitlow coming back. Guys can move. We know what you're doing there. You do lose what that kid's name, Ryan Davis. Ryan Davis, one of those guys. You just snap the ball, throw it to him, and he can make something happen. He just got that speed, he's got that ability. You do lose him. You do return a majority, if not all, of your line. A bunch of seniors across the front. I think one guy did have a tear ACL. It is what it is. So you do have somebody to protect that young gun, whoever's going to be it is, in the front, throwing the ball around. On the defensive side, you do lose your leading tackler, Deshaun Davis. He's gone. Darrell Williams is gone. Atkinson, Russell, yada, yada, yada. They're gone, but you do have 7 back. So what does that mean for you? I will tell you this, that just being straight up with you, you have one of the toughest schedules, top 5, top 4 schedules in the country. I wouldn't be afraid to put them up against it, but even for them it would be tough. Much less a team who cannot decide one week whether they're going to be good and the next week whether they're going to be bad. Let's jump right into this one. The very first game is in Arlington, August 31st, playing the Oregon Ducks. I've already done a preview of the Oregon Ducks. You can go watch that if you want. If you can just watch it up to the point where I talk about y'all to them. But I'm going to remind Oregon fans who watches this one thing. Oregon, you have the conference and you have the ability, you have the talent to go undefeated. But if you lose week 1 to Auburn and then you win the rest of your games, but you get left out of the playoffs, that's your fault. And Auburn, I'm going to tell you this. If you come out here and you're going to represent the SEC and you're going to have your chest all poked out, you're going to be like, nobody beats us in the regular season. And you come out there and you beat them, and then you lose games down the stretch, it doesn't make sense. I'm not talking about Alabama. I'm talking about games that doesn't make sense. We'll get to those in a second. You lose those games, don't get pissed when we don't take you serious. I believe Oregon barely beats you, but this is a toss-up game. And there's one thing I'll hand SEC teams. SEC during the regular season, they have a chip on their shoulders to prove they are the toughest conference. Then you get them to the bowl games, they're sulking because they realize that only Alabama is going to make it to the national championship. Georgia might make it to Sugar Bowl or something like that. They don't even really want to be there at that point. I believe you beat Oregon, or you lose to Oregon, sorry. Just playing with you. I believe you lose to Oregon. Barely. Next week you play Tulane. You lose to Tulane, go burn down your stadium, start focusing on lacrosse. Week after that, you play Kent State. Listen to me, and I'm going to stop right here. Y'all needed these two games before you played Oregon. I know it's good for all of us who wants to sit here and watch tough ball games during the first couple of weeks. But here's the truth between me and you. All right. If the NFL and those crybabies who get overpaid and then tell everybody else how they're wrong in life and how tough life is, and they're making $100 million and they're dating models, and then they break up with one model to end up with another model, they get a preseason exhibition. College boys should get at least 2 weeks, 1 week, 2 weeks of cupcake games. Okay? I'm fine with that. I'm totally fine with that. I won't be mad at all. So if those professionals get an exhibition, I think college, I used to be against the cupcake game, and now I'm sitting here going, now I kind of get it. You need those two games, because I'll tell you this, those two games, and you're doing well, and you figured out your quarterback, and the line's working for you, and maybe you're getting some continuity throwing, that's a new word I learned, throwing the ball around, you stand a greater chance of beating Oregon. Play at Texas A&M. Let me tell you right now, Jimbo Fisher has won a national championship as an offensive coordinator at LSU. He won a national championship as the head coach at Florida State. This is his second season. This guy can coach. He is putting a team together. He means business. You lose this ball game at Texas A&M because he has the ability to do it, and he will not play around. I guarantee you. He beats you. Next week you play Mississippi State. This last year's Mississippi State team, I tell you, you know what? You got a problem. Last year you had a problem, lost 23-9 to them. This year they have a lot of talent gone. You beat them. At Florida. God, this is so hard. Everybody's screaming Florida's back. Florida's not back. They're not the piss bucket they've been, but Florida is not back. If you're sitting there screaming Florida's back just because they beat Michigan like they did, first of all, that Michigan team as a whole was not impressive except for their defense. And even them, they didn't do as great as they should have. You know, Winovich, Bush, Rashawn Gary, you know, guys like them. And then you had guys sit out because they didn't feel like playing in that bowl game, and then Florida whoops crap out of them. I know Florida fans have told me that I'm wrong, and that's fine because I'm right, and I sleep just fine with 2 pillows and a comforter. And my beautiful wife laying beside me. I'm right. Trust me, Florida is not bad. If you want to win a game that you should not lose, or at least be a toss-up, this would be a good one. But this is one of those games that I so confidently come out and say, oh, you're going, I think you can edge out Florida here. And then you blow it by like 3 touchdowns. Because that's the Auburn way. I know I just pissed off somebody there, but that's the Auburn way. Forget me. Go look at history. That's the Auburn way. And don't count Newton, because he played 1 season, 1 national championship, and left. It's 10 years ago, by the way. I believe you lose the game to Florida, barely. It's at Florida, I'm sorry. You get a week off, that's a good thing. Chill out, hang out. If you were at the University of, I don't know, some of these other universities, I'd have to tell you right now, don't go get in no trouble. Don't go hire a hooker. Don't go smoke weed. No matter what your feelings are on it, it's still illegal in a lot of these states, so forget it. You can argue till you're blue in the face, but you're still off the team. Play at Arkansas the very next week. Arkansas has our old offensive coordinator, Chad Morris, down there. And old Chad won't be the coach down there much longer because he's finding out it's hard to take Dookie and make a beautiful, wonderful meal out of it when all you have to work with is Dookie. You will beat Arkansas. You're at LSU. LSU, this is an interesting game. You barely lost last year. Barely lost. Barely. 1 point. A team that throttled Georgia. They got throttled by Bama, 29-0, but enough of that. You're going to lose to LSU. It's at LSU. Most likely it's going to be a night game. You'll hear, even though he's not going to be calling the game, you'll hear Vern Lundquist screaming out in the background. All right? Y'all are losing this ball game. I didn't say you get blown out. I just said you're losing. Next week, play Mississippi. What a dumpster fire. You beat them. Very next week, you're off, and you need it. Play Georgia. I'm looking at last year, you lost 27-10, but I look at the year before, you won 40-17. That's what made Georgia fans really upset when people considered leaving them out of that national championship run. You did get throttled. Year before that, it's close with Georgia. Year before that, close with Georgia. Year before that, you got absolutely, you basically got a prostate exam by Georgia with big knuckles. You're losing to Georgia this year. You're losing to them. Didn't say they're going to throttle you. I didn't say they're going to run you out of Jordan Hare. I always have to remind me, even though it's spelled Jordan, it's Jordan. Jordan Hare. They're not going to run you out. You might even come close to beating them. You're losing this game. You play Samford the very next week. You beat them. Who cares? Very next week after that, you play Alabama. It's at home. I would love to sit there and watch you beat Alabama. It would make me happy. Not because we're afraid to play them. And by the way, I want to stop here for the next 20 seconds and say this. This is not trash talk to the SEC or to anybody. This is just the truth. Did y'all see what they did to Alabama? Not in a regular game. Not in a game where everybody was hurt and we took advantage of them. I'm talking about on the prime stage. We didn't beat them by a touchdown and there were some questionable calls. No, we beat them by 4 flipping touchdowns and Dabo had to call the dogs off. You say, why are you saying that? Because I'm not afraid to watch them play Clemson again. We got most of our offense back, and though we lost the line, we got some really good players on defense. Feel pretty good about. With that said, I wouldn't mind watching you beat them. I think it would be awesome to watch y'all return a failed field goal all the way back for a win. That was great. I enjoyed it. It was cherry on top for me. Unfortunately, it's going to be major game time for them. And they're not going to let you beat them. Though I'll be pulling for you, they're not going to let you beat them. You're going to lose to them. So, Auburn, where does this leave you? Where does this leave you in the grand scheme of things? Well, I think by the end of the season, it leaves you in the grand scheme of things of trying to figure out how you can get a new coach and exactly who that coach will be. Because at the end of the day, you are paying a lot to get just a little. Well, I'm Bobby Dirkens. Thank you so much for joining me. Once again, hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications, tell your mama, pass it along to your clergyman, and also the guy who picks up the trash every Tuesday morning. I'm Bobby Dirkens. You keep showing up. Lord knows, I'll keep showing out.